That patrol boat behind me just pulled up alongside and said to hurry along because I think if I understood him right, there's a submarine coming in and they need to clear the channel. So on this foggy morning leaving Brest, I'm interfering with operations.
This is interesting. When you see a French Navy ship, sometimes they use AIS and sometimes they don't. And here's one that's clearly written French Navy warship. Right, let's see what that looks like. Don't shoot! Je suis ami. Well, I'm proceeding down one of the fairly notorious tidal races called the Canal du Four, just north of Brest. This place can get really ugly with currents of, I don't know, 5 or 6 knots. Today, there's not enough wind. I'm actually having to do it using the motor. And you could go water skiing, actually. It's that calm. Now, there is a very strong current behind me. I'm just ticking over a little more than, just slightly more than idle in forward gear, and I'm doing almost 6 knots. So there is a strong current here, and that's the only trick to it. Is there's nothing fancy about it. You just do your timing right, so you arrive right when the tide is going in the right direction. And now this is for the next 3 hours going to carry me all the way north to where I want to be. So, which is the port of Cherbourg. So as I've made my way up the French coast heading toward Cherbourg to cross the English Channel, I've had to do quite a bit of motor sailing. That's what I'm doing today. Today is a perfect example of that. There's about 10 knots to maybe 12 knots of wind maximum coming from directly the direction I want to be heading. I'm actually around on the northern coast of France now, heading east. So yes, I could tack back and forth to my destination, which is the next destination is Roscoff. Some of you will know that port. The problem with that is that when you tack, if you do the sine rule and do the calculations from memory, you will do 42% more greater distance, is what that means. 42%. And in reality, more than that, because that would keep you close hauled on the tacks, and most of us like to fall off at least another 10 degrees because you go faster, which means you have to go even further. So a 35-mile trip like I'm doing today would suddenly get 1.5 times that length, and on comes the motor. So forgive me, I'm not a sailing purist. I'm more practical. This is the port of Roscoff is just an intermediate destination. It's something I have to do to move on. So I am using the motor. Sometimes it's really the only practical choice is to do the motor sailing. So Roscoff Bloscon.
this evening I'm leaving on one of the more challenging journeys of this long passage. I am going to be starting here. I'm on the northern coast of France, and I'm in the port of Roscoff, and I'm going to sail all night long up this direction to the Channel Islands, and I want to pass just off the coast of Guernsey here, and the objective is to arrive here about 7 o'clock in the morning, between 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning here, and then be swept by a very strong current up through the Rois Blanchard. That's this very near passage between Alderney and Cap de la Hague, and then up and around and into Cherbourg. The total distance is about 120 miles. The difficulty are the very strong tidal currents that occur here, and frankly, my major concern is getting to that. The key point is to arrive here just off the coast of Guernsey at 7 o'clock in the morning, or between 6 and 7, so to get swept up this way. The currents there, I've got a coefficient of about 95 today. They can be 6 or 7 knots. So if you hit it wrong, if you arrive there at the wrong time, you won't make it through. And the wind is going to be perfect. I'm almost dead astern. I would like that actually to be 20 degrees off to one side or the other, but almost dead astern at 18 knots, gusting to 28 all night long. So that's perfect for just flying along. Too early, you can try to fight the last of the current before it sweeps the other way, or figure out a way just to kill some time. So a challenging passage. I didn't stop in the Channel Islands this time. I've been there many times to all of these islands as a private pilot. I haven't ever sailed to them. Maybe I'll stop on my sailboat on the way home. Well, good morning. The sun is about to come up after a long, cold night. Sleepless night, I might add. In coastal navigation, it's just impossible or really difficult to do any sleep. I have just reached my turning point to start going down, weaving my way through the Channel Islands. I hit my turning point just about perfect. There's a slight half-hour delay, half-hour late. That very strong wind, 16, 18 knots, really pushed me through. The problem was that wind was directly behind me, so I had to jibe at least a half a dozen times during the night, and that I had to do some extra distance because of that. So I arrived just a few minutes late. So we're cruising along now, between 6 and 7 knots, a little over 7 knots speed over ground. What's carrying me there is this current. Now I'm on the escalator that's going to take me right through these islands here very rapidly. This is Cherbourg, where I've just arrived after sailing all night. And there's 21 knots of wind. I don't know the port, never been here. We'll see how this works.